This video is brought to you by Odessa Woodworking and Maker Shop. This is my entry into the 2020 Pallet Upcycle Challenge, making Galileo out of pallet wood. This is how I take a pallet apart. I normally take my trusty reciprocating saw and a blade to cut metal with. With that blade, I can cut the nails in the pallet. All you have to do is put the blade in between the wood and it cuts, right? Unless you hit the wood like I just did. So all you have to do is cut again and work your way down, so that the pallet comes apart like cutting butter. So once I have the pallet taken apart, what I'll do is I'll use a punch to punch out the nails, and then a pair of side cutters to remove the nails that I've punched out. Sometimes I'll even use a nail as a punch to punch the nails out. All my boards were of different thicknesses, so I had to figure out which the thinnest one was so I can plane all of them down to a thickness smaller than the smallest one. Now what we need to do is take these boards over the planer and start planing them. Here you can see where it actually needs more planing. After a bunch of planing, not only did we come up with some smooth boards, but we made some glitter. So after I had my wood prepared, what I ended up doing is taking and cutting out the diagrams of the shuttle, which are in a scale of 1 inch to 1 meter, and laid it down on wood and started cutting it on the scroll saw. So I cut on the scroll saw, and I cut some more, and then I traced and cut some more, and then cut some more, and there was a lot of cutting. I started this project from a couple of plans that I found on the internet of the left side view and the front side view, and the right side view and interior, and the rear view. I clamped it up once I got it all cut. Did I say that I clamped it up? Remember, you can't ever have too many clamps. So I clamped some more and basically held it together while it dried. This is what it looked like once dry. So it was time to work on the roof of the shuttlecraft and also the front panel of the shuttlecraft. So I went ahead and took some of the blueprint and used it as a guide to where I was going to put the windows. I drilled out the holes for the windows so that I could take and insert the scroll saw blade through it. So I scroll sawed it and cut out the windows so that I could have the front panel. Once again, I used my nifty clamps to hold it all together. I did the same thing for the back so the impulse engines would have ports. Then I made a little bezel that would go over the ports in the same fashion. Once I cut it out, I went ahead and put it on there. It eventually got painted black. Blue felt was added and some lighting too. I made several engines and picked out the better ones that came out. I used the lathe to cut them and to measure them and to round the ends on each side. I also made the little pieces that go on the ends. These little pieces I did on the scroll saw using compound scroll sawing. Even though this doesn't look great, what actually turned out after I worked on it was this right here. These engines are also called nacelles, and I had to make the nacelle struts. Since I used pallet wood, there were a few holes in the wood. I had to fill in the holes with wood putty. Once I worked that out, I attached the engines and the struts to the body of the shuttlecraft. The time had come to sand and prime
and catch the imperfections that I had probably put in myself, like the front of the ship. I didn't really like it, so I went ahead and sanded down and filled the front up so it wouldn't have the gaps that it had. I then primed, of course, and sanded some more and painted.
I made the landing strut for the rear and then created two other pieces for underneath the nacelles. The strut itself was originally from a beach circa 1954, or so the lore says. I made my own decals using labels, clear labels, that were 8.5 by 11 in size. I found the actual images, of course, on the web and went ahead and printed them on those mailing labels, then cut them out and applied them. I used an Arduino and some LEDs so that the lighting would shine through the rear impulse engines and it would simulate the engines working. There's the shuttle. I hope you enjoyed watching me build this as much as I enjoyed building it. Thank you very much. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, and give a thumbs up.